Hey everyone, man, what a lineup of speeches so far. Yeah, we've got the text messages. I think my dad really emptied the tank on his fourth son there. Steve's cracking jokes, so hopefully I don't let us down here. I am Paul, for those that can't tell the resemblance. I'm Peter's brother, specifically the one that has known him from the womb that my dad mentioned earlier. And as Peter's twin brother, I feel like I've had a front row seat to his growth and development these last 30 years. And as I was preparing the speech, I actually went back and did the math on how much we've been together over the last 30 years. So, like I mentioned, pretty good vantage point. Of the 30 years that Peter and I have been alive, we have lived within 100 feet of each other for 26 of those years. And the furthest apart we lived was actually our senior year at U of I, where I had moved off campus in Champaign. Peter stayed on campus in Urbana, so that's, I think, 3 miles apart from each other. So it was a hard year, but somehow we managed, did the long distance thing, and now he's been my literal next door neighbor for the last 4 years. So we can't get enough of each other. So yeah, connected at the hip from the jump. And because of that, I feel like I've just had an awesome front row seat to see his growth, his development, and of all the different character traits that I could talk about, the one that stands out to me the most is just how devoted he is. You know, you'd be hard-pressed to find any area of Peter's life, any relationship in his life that he feels like God has put in front of him where he's not all in. I think that's an amazing character trait, so I just wanted to flesh that out a little bit, talk about the different ways that Peter's been devoted over the years. So first, Peter is a devoted friend. Could share a bunch of different stories here, but the one that sticks out to me the most is Wendiversary. Yes. For those that aren't familiar with the holiday or weren't plugged into the local news scene here this past winter, Peter and his best friend Matt over here have made an annual pilgrimage the last 8 years to a local Wendy's. You may ask why. That's a great question. I'm still not sure. But yeah, every year on February 11th, Peter and Matt go to a Wendy's. So Jenna, just make a note. February 11th next year, devoted to friendship and some spicy chicken sandwiches from Wendy's. Peter's also a devoted brother. This is the one that hits closest to home for me. I owe my marriage in some degree to Peter. It's not hyperbole to say that. Rewind with me to the winter of 2007. I am a shy 16-year-old, and I've started to take an interest in this girl at school who would end up being my wife, Kate. And we had agreed, we weren't dating yet, we had agreed to talk on the phone that night, a big step. It was gonna be the first time we had talked on the phone before. And as the night wears on, we're getting closer and closer to 9 o'clock. I, of course, am just freaking out, getting more and more nervous that this isn't gonna go well. And so at around 8:58, I barge into Peter's bedroom and I say, hey man, I just don't think this is gonna go well if I have to start it. Would you mind impersonating me, being me for the first 5-10 minutes of the phone call, then we'll transition, and then we'll just pick up from there. And terrible idea. It actually worked perfectly. So Peter has my voice, I guess, and it went well. And then 5 years later, Kate and I were married. So thanks for my marriage, Pete. So devoted friend, devoted brother. As you all saw today, also a devoted uncle. The procession of children that came down the aisle are all Peter's nieces and nephews. And it's been so great to see Peter care for my kids, for John's kids, for Kevin's kids these last 10 years. God's kindness to me in a lot of ways. We're talking Cubs games, trips to Disney shows in the city, coaching Little League teams, hosting cousin movie nights. We sneaked that one in right before COVID. So for the last decade, Peter's done everything in his power to make our kids feel loved and special. My wife has actually coined a nickname, MV Pete, to talk to describe just how amazing Peter has been to our kids. So thanks so much for that, Pete. So, devoted friend, devoted brother, and a devoted uncle. And Jenna, lest you think this theme of devotion is all positive and heartwarming, I do want to prepare you for what's ahead of you in terms of how this character trait of devotion intersects with sports, specifically Illini sports. I know you're aware of this already, but you really need to mentally prepare yourself. As you're sitting there through yet another cold, dreary, meaningless loss at Memorial Stadium next year, you're going to try and, apply logic to the situation. You'll think, Illinois hasn't had a winning season in over a decade. You'll think, these games last more than 4 hours. Think of all the other things we could be doing. And you're exactly right. It doesn't make sense. But if 3 decades of incompetence hasn't broken Peter's devotion yet, I don't think anything will. So you've got a lifetime of Illini devotion, some might call it misery, ahead of you at Peter's right hand. The good news is, all the Elliots will share that with you as well. But in all seriousness, Peter, your devotion has been amazing to witness, and as neat as it's been to see you as a devoted friend, brother, and uncle, I can't wait to see you as a devoted husband to Jenna. And Jenna, so excited to officially welcome you to the family as a sister. One of God's biggest kindness to me and our family these last 2 years has been getting to know you, spend time with you, and just as Peter is devoted, I feel like you have a warmth that Emily was talking about and a kindness that just shines through and really does bring out the best in Peter. So let's toast to a devoted husband, an incredible wife, and a marriage that will bring God honor for decades to come.